I might say something that might offend you. But you know what? The best business advice I receive is mind your own business. Let me tell you a story. I grew up with my grandmother, my Lola, and I remember every afternoon we had a ritual. We would walk to the nearest little store, not to buy anything grand, but just a single piece of candy. Because the real treat at that time wasn't really that tiny piece of candy. It was the stories, because we were in a small neighborhood and that store was actually a place for the daily gathering for gossips, laughter, and all the tiny revelations of people who are living in the same area about everyone else's life. And my grandmother and I, we were the very loyal audience. So we collected stories. We listened to all the stories like souvenirs. And by the time we went home, we had enough material to last until the next day. And that has been a hobby. And I didn't realize back then that those afternoons trained me to watch other people's business, as if it was part of mine. So as I got older, although it's embarrassing to admit right now, I also love gossiping. Who doesn't? But by watching, I stayed and looking around. So in high school, I walked into the room with a radar-like awareness. Who looked better today? Who gained weight? Who was popular? Who wasn't? And little by little, I started comparing myself, not just whispering and gossiping. I've been comparing myself quietly, constantly, and painfully. And college even made it worse, because now it wasn't just the looks, it was even the grades, the opportunities, the relationships, the personality, the ambition, the potential. Suddenly, I wasn't just observing people. I was observing myself through those people that I'm looking around. Everything felt like a scoreboard. I kept checking. If I was winning, well, I don't know. But when I entered the corporate world, that silent comparison turned into a full-time performance. Everyone else looked polished, confident, well-presented. Well, or at least that's what it seemed like. And there I was, trying to copy how they spoke, how they dress up, how they behave, how they carry themselves. And I became extremely conscious of everything I did, because I didn't want to be the subject of whispers. I didn't want to be the subject of assumptions or conversations behind my back. I didn't want to be the story of the day. And I also didn't want to be the lesson, the laugh, or the topic, especially in the pantry room. And the painful truth hit me that I was still living in my childhood habit. But instead of just watching other people's business, I was now terrified that people were watching mine. Yeah. And then one day, I remember, in the middle of another cycle of adjusting myself to fit into someone else's expectations, I just caught myself. I was trying to talk in a certain way, behave in a certain way, blend in a certain way, and I suddenly felt exhausted. And that moment whispered to me, Rowena, is that really you? And that's when I realized I couldn't keep shaping myself based on what other people might say. No, cannot do that. And I couldn't keep managing their reactions. I couldn't keep copying their paths as well. And I cannot keep shrinking just to avoid attention. So I tried to do something. I tried to shift. I stopped managing their reactions. And I started managing my own direction. I just only stopped investing energy in who was watching me and who started investing in who I was becoming. Because at the end of the day, other people's opinions will never build my life, but my focus will. So yes, the best advice I ever received is mind your own business so that you can finally take care of your own life. So I hope you can take on this best advice that I ever had in my life. This is Rowena. This is Raw, real, authentic, and worthy.